Ah, have we found a sequel that's better than the original yet?
Yes!
Ah, finally. Shrek 2, directed again by Andrew Atkinson, director of the first movie, and tells the story of Shrek and Fiona, now both Ogres, both being married happily ever after. However, things take an unexpected turn when Shrek and Fiona are invited back by Fiona's father, the king and queen of Far, Far Away, Fiona's birthplace, to celebrate their marriage at the royal ball. However, the devious fairy godmother is furious when she finds out that Fiona has already married, when she planned her son, Prince Charming, to marry Fiona so he could take over the kingdom. So she manipulates Fiona's father, Harold, who doesn't take a liking to Shrek at first, to get rid of Shrek and force Fiona and Charming to fall in love, and at the same time hire an assassin, the everyone's favourite feline outlaw Puss in Boots, to assassinate Shrek. It's up to Shrek, Donkey, and now Puss to save his marriage and become the Prince Charming or Ogre Fiona deserves now. Shrek 2, at the time, it proved that in an age where animated sequels were always considered inferior to the original, this was the first big animated sequel to be considered just as good, if not better, than the original. It, at the time, was an absolute phenomenal when it came out. It is, at the time, the highest grossing animated film of all time, although it has been surpassed by Frozen and Toy Story 3 today. But at the time it made like 5 times as much as the first film did commercially, which goes to show how good it was, how much critics and audiences praised it. And I agree, Shrek 2 is the defining chapter of the Shrek movies. It is my favourite of the 4 by far. I absolutely love everything about it. This is the first Shrek times 10. Everything you loved about the original Shrek is here, but done even better. Disney really need to take notes from DreamWorks, because this is a sequel done to absolute perfection. Let's face it, guys, most Disney sequels just suck and pale in comparison to DreamWorks sequels. I mean, DreamWorks have made Kung Fu Panda 2 and How to Train Your Dragon 2, both movies even better than their predecessor. So that's what DreamWorks sequels do so well, especially Shrek 2, rather than just tell the same story as the original Shrek all over again. It's a completely new story. It continues the story. It gives us plenty of fresh and original ideas. It adds to the first film rather than detracts from it, and I absolutely love the opening, how it's beautifully paid homage to the opening of the first one with the book again, only it told us something new that we never found out. We actually got to know that Fiona was born in Far, Far Away, and Fiona's parents didn't just lock her in the tower for no reason. They locked her in a tower because the fairy godmother manipulated them to, so that her son Prince Charming could rescue her, manipulate her to fall in love with her and take over their kingdom. It's so hilarious when Prince Charming goes into the tower and he finds the gender confused big bad wolf tell him that Fiona's off on her honeymoon. He was absolutely in utter shock. If you thought Shrek and Fiona's romance was sweet in the first film, it's even sweeter and more compelling here. It's basically the main focus of the movie. I'm so glad they have found a way to continue the story rather than just end it on Shrek and Fiona getting married, because if Fiona didn't marry the Prince Charming her parents wanted and her parents find out, then there are going to be consequences. And I'm glad the movie does fully address that. And obviously this is going to be a challenge for Shrek, because he's lived alone most of his life. He's never socialised or been part of a family before, so he's obviously going to be reluctant at first. Shrek and Fiona might be happily married, but they don't just get along perfectly, because then there wouldn't be any conflict for them to overcome, and that would be boring. And they do act like a real married couple. They do argue. They do have emotional moments, but they work together and get through it. And Shrek has to learn to put Fiona before himself, as any husband should. And Shrek and Fiona's parents, the king and queen of Far, Far Away, Harold and Julia, I thought they were going to be just horrible, cliched parents who just despise Shrek. Well, thankfully, they're way more interesting and better written than that. They are some of the best parent characters I've ever seen. I mean, the Queen, she immediately accepts Shrek and warms up to him. But however, it's Harold, that her father, that's the one that takes a bit of time warming up to him. He is pissed off that her daughter has married an ogre and has made her permanently an ogre, because obviously the point of sending her to the tower was for her to kiss Prince Charming and break the enchantment. So that's another great dynamic of the movie. Not only do Shrek and Fiona have to pull themselves together and save their marriage, but Shrek and Fiona's father have to learn to get along and accept each other, and that makes him essentially the heart and the best new character of the movie, as he has good intentions. He only wants what's best for his daughter, but he realises that he was wrong to work with the fairy godmother and wrong to force Fiona to fall in love with someone she doesn't choose, and he realises that Shrek is the perfect man for her. When he will even go as far as risking his life for Shrek in the climax. And before that, he didn't even want anything to do with Shrek, so that's powerful stuff. And it helps that John Cleese and Julie Andrews are both flawless in the role. They do an awesome job voice acting, and of course, Puss in Boots, he is the one of the best, if not the best, characters in the Shrek movies. He well deserved his own spin-off movie, which turned out way better than I thought it would be. Antonio Banderas, fantastic voice acting. Fear me if you dare. Yeah, and even Puss had to change and redeem himself as a character, as he starts out as an assassin who's going to kill Shrek, but oddly enough becomes friends with Shrek at the end. So there are great character arcs throughout this movie, and of course the villain, the fairy godmother. If you thought Lord Farquaad was a great villain in the first film, you ain't seen nothing yet. The fairy godmother is my favourite Shrek villain by far. Jennifer Saunders is one of the best voice acting performances I have ever seen, and the fairy godmother is of course seen as the ultimate good, so props to you, DreamWorks. You made us love an ogre and hate a fairy godmother. What other movie has done that? And she was the one that locked Fiona in the tower in the first place, and her plot is absolutely diabolical, and you just hate this bitch. It's so satisfying at the end at seeing her get her comeuppance. And Prince Charming, again, props to you, DreamWorks. You made a character named Prince Charming a villain. Of course, he doesn't love Fiona at all. He's just marrying her so he can be king of Far, Far Away. And Rupert Emmerich does a great job voicing him. He works so much better as a secondary antagonist than a main antagonist. Why did they make him the main villain of Shrek the Third? But that's for another video. Shrek 2 easily has the best story of the Shrek films. While the first film's story was original, it was more simplistic. This is so much more complex. It has so much more twists, more turns, and the second half of the film has Shrek in human form, which was a very bold decision. I loved the part where Shrek and Donkey drank the happily ever after potion and turned into the handsome versions of themselves, Donkey being the noble steed, and that makes such compelling drama that Shrek is finally the handsome prince. That's Fiona has always wanted. It shows how far he's come and how much he's willing to sacrifice just for Fiona. The comedy in Shrek 2, boy, let's talk about the comedy. Absolutely marvellous. There is not a second that will go by in this film where you aren't laughing your absolute arse off. I mean, all the jokes and puns are so original, masterfully thought out, and perfectly timed. I mean, the enough Reggae scene, and especially the "Are we there yet" scene. Are we there yet? No! Oh my gosh! And whoever thought up the comedy in this film, they deserve a pat on the back. You topped even the comedy from the first Shrek, which had some of the best comedy ever written. And Shrek 2 doesn't just rehash the same locations as the first movie, it actually takes us to new territory. I love Far, Far Away. It's basically the fairy tale Hollywood. I love how this film continues to modernise the fairy tales just as the original did, but it modernises them even better here. And the villain pub, the Poison Apple, just a stroke of genius, whoever thought of that. The animation has greatly improved here. It still retains the magical and heartwarming feel of the first film while improving the comedy, and it helps that the pacing of this film is definitely better than the first. There are fewer montage scenes here. You will never be bored. There's never a single dull moment. This has one of the greatest rewatchabilities I've ever seen. I could see the original Shrek 100 times, but I could see Shrek 2 1,000,000 times. I absolutely adore the soundtrack to this film. Harry Gregson Williams and John Powell return, and their score still has the classic Shrek and DreamWorks theme from the original, as well as plenty of new songs. All of the songs perfectly enhance a scene. Whenever a scene is happy and uplifting, that's exactly what the song achieves. But if a scene is supposed to be dramatic or really down, the song achieves just that too. Even as a comedic marvel as this film is, it never goes overboard with the comedy. It always has plenty of dramatic and emotional moments too, creating a perfect movie that kids and adults everywhere can just sit down and love. Kids will love the comedic moments, adults will love the slow, somber drama moments. It's a family film done perfectly to a T. There are so many iconic moments here. The accidentally in love honeymoon montage, the "Are we there yet" scene, the arrival of Far, Far Away, the dinner scene, the Shrek and Donkey meet Puss, the fairy godmother factory scene, Shrek and Donkey become handsome, the climax especially is the defining moment of Shrek, where the fairy godmother sings "I Need a Hero." This is the best version of the song I have ever heard. It's so epic. And while all this is happening, Shrek very epically on the giant gingerbread man Mongo storms the castle in a race against time to save his wife and marriage. This is the most one of those awesome epic climaxes I have ever seen in a movie. I am not kidding. Yet despite all this cool action, what's really impressive is that the drama and the emotion comes first. Seeing Harold finally redeem himself and save the day, and especially satisfying seeing the fairy godmother get her comeuppance. And in a brilliant plot twist, it turns out Harold was a frog this whole time, who the fairy godmother helped become a human so he could be with the one he loved, so he went through the same character arc as Shrek. I especially love the resolution. Even though Shrek has felt he's finally achieved what Fiona's wanted by becoming handsome, she still chooses to be with the ogre she married and accepts, doesn't matter who they are as long as they love each other. That is a brilliant message for everyone, and is a perfect definitive ending, I think, to the Shrek series. And the ending song, Halalabina and Loka, is freaking awesome. I was dancing along to that. I'm like, the Shrek series is surely done here. How could they top this? And sadly, they never have topped this climax or this film in general, because in case you haven't noticed, I absolutely love Shrek 2. I think it's a perfect film. I don't have a single flaw with this at all. It's is an example of a sequel done brilliantly. I give Shrek 2 5 stars out of 5. Best Shrek movie, absolutely, and the last great Shrek. Well, I love you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for my review of Shrek the Third. Oh, God help me. Well, what do you think of Shrek 2? Please comment and let me know. Please like this video and subscribe. Please follow me on Twitter and on Google+, and I'll see you all next time. Bye, guys.